All right, problem 10.3, millimeters, grams, and seconds. Location, origin is at the center. Part is symmetric, all sketches fully defined. Lines, center lines, circles, extrude, boss, fillets, and chamfers. I'm not really seeing any chamfers, and use an up to surface in condition. All right, I really look at this and think, wow, I'd like to do a sweep, even though these little I say the flaps at the end don't look like they'll fill in that group, but they're not really indicating a sweep here. So if I'm following directions, we'll be looking at this profile, generating it out, and then up the surface. I could see an offset from surface in condition, and then putting the fillets in. So let's do that, and then we'll compare it to the sweep solution and see how much time that takes. So part millimeter, we're going to be drawing in the top plane then. And let's just go ahead and generate our, now let's go ahead and put a center line in. Get the reference going. So if that comes back out that way, then surface and condition, no, I'm still not really seeing that. All right, so between those two, we have the 9mm. If we check for symmetry, I didn't do anything really to establish symmetry, so we can put those in place. From the center to the end then becomes 18mm. And we can make those horizontal. Put in our radius of 9. And then our interior fillet goes to 9. Okay, so we'll see how that goes. And then back to center. Bring it all the way around. I'm not going to chase it that far. And selecting the two arcs, those become concentric. We'll just make those equal. All right, so our next dimensions then, we go from the radius of 6 to 3. That should also be a separation of 9. Since we're not given an overall, okay, we'll go with that. So what I'm looking at, or where I'm getting that number, is our sketches, our interior sketches to that point, 6mm for the radius plus 3mm for the flat. That puts us out to that point. And then the thickness is 2, but that's on the interior. So let's go ahead and extrude this. And it is 18mm mid-plane. All right, so going back into the top plane then, we are going to offset. I probably should have just selected the chain, but we'll offset reverse 2mm. And no, we don't want to cap the ends because I need to convert everything else. So if we go to the outside geometry, we can convert, and I don't really want those tails left, so grabbing the endpoint allows you to drag. All right, so 18 minus 4, 2mm on the top, 2mm on the bottom. We're going to extrude cut, mid-plane, 14. And that gives us the inside geometry. So the radiuses on the inside should be 4. If the radiuses on the outside are 6, and make sure I get both of them, or both sides. And let's go ahead with the fillet, and then that one becomes 6. All right, so not looking too bad. I still don't see the chamfer, but let's pick the ends. Those have a radius of 4 as well. All right, so our mass property then is 4605. So it's 4605. So I'm thinking I would like to compare the sweep. If I suppress all of those, yeah, I think we could probably suppress all of the features and start over. Wouldn't mind having that initial sketch, but we've already built it out. So, all right, so center point. Let's go back through the steps. Center line. We had 18 and a radius of 9. And I'm just going to go ahead and stay with the verticals, horizontal. We'll try the mirror this time. Go into our dimension. Oops, don't do that. Control Z, not Control S, at least not yet. All right, so we got a little extra one there. Let's try again, 9. All right, so that didn't follow it around. That does bring up an interesting point. The 9 millimeters there, so if we have the 9, and even though they're not relations, which will be deleted, yeah, go ahead. We'll figure it out afterwards, but even though they're not connected, I could go ahead with the fillet, even if it warns me. I'm not too concerned. We have enough geometry there to make it interesting. All right, so if I go into the right plane, okay, I need to double check my geometry. Oh, actually I wanted not the center line, the midpoint. And we got the vertical. So we can go ahead and pierce that just for the fun of it. Make sure I'm looking at it end on where I expect it to be. And then we're going to go to tangent and tangent arc and a line. And then this is one where I'm going to have to make sure that I'm paying attention to my my geometry. All right, so tangent, and let's go ahead and do an equal and a vertical. All right, so between those two is 18, and the outside was 6, and from that center to the end point, and just double check since they drew it that way. And then we should be able to select that chain, offset the entities by 2, cap the ends with lines, and go ahead and accept it. All right, so let's see what that gives. So back into our features, we'll do the swept boss base. The profile was selected, and we want to go both ways. All right, so we got that much, and then like I said, it didn't quite complete the interiors there, but I'm not too concerned because we can go into the top plane. We'll convert at least some of those. That's going to go to a point. At least I don't think there's anything left of that as far as an arc. If I convert those entities, then I can drag that back to the quadrant. And make sure that that went vertical. So it went vertical, but I don't think it stayed tangent. There we go. All right, so that gives me 1. Control 5 puts me back in the top view. And I just like to clean up with the making sure everything gets defined. So mirror the entities. And I could have gone ahead and put the radius in there. So I haven't gotten out of that. So let's see what that looks like. 4 and 4. All right, so let's go ahead and get out of that. We're going to extrude. And let's use the offset. Now let's do the vertex. We'll do a vertex from there to up the surface. And that will give us our first geometry. And then we're going to share it and do the second geometry the same way. From the vertex up to surface. Make sure that we're getting into those boxes and go ahead and accept it. So what I'm interested to see is this geometry with this little triangle looking thing there, if the fillet generates the same thing. So evaluate mass properties, 4605. So pretty much the same thing. We got to the same result. But let's go ahead and suppress. Well, let's make a configuration since I'm having so much fun here. Configuration, we will add a configuration to be the sweep, and the default will just be the other one. So I switch, and we suppress that one, we unsuppress that one. So notice, interestingly enough, the sweep has these little triangular shapes where it built out to that point, and the fillets stop and don't generate that little triangular shape. So interesting, pretty much the same geometry except for that one additional little item that's kind of a telltale something different is going on. All right, but interesting part. I like this one.